Hello, everyone. Welcome to this webinar today, where we're going to be looking at a whole range of issues relative to communication within accountancy businesses as you go about introducing diversified services. I'm joined today by Brad Smart, the author of Selling the Message and an expert in communications. And Brad will be talking to you shortly.
Peter, good to be here.
Yes, Brad. We are going to be talking about a whole range of issues, aren't we? About communications. Accountants have got this strategy of introducing diversified services. And I'm sure you agree, and that's what you're going to talk about, is how they make sure that people know that they're offering these services.
Oh, that's right, Peter. The thing about accountancy practices or legal practices or any other, including mine, the media area, is that they need to look at diversification from time to time. Now, you know, some of that diversification may be odd things for them, like perhaps a vineyard, but we're looking here more for the diversification within the areas of specialty that they already have. So basically, they have a reputation in the accountancy area, and they can move into other areas, but they're really starting a new business within their own business, and they've got to let people know that they've got expertise in this area and what services they've got, because people don't know unless you tell them.
That's right. Okay, well, we'll just go back and I'll just go through a couple of our slides to get us started, and we should be able to go through that all right. What are your firm's points of difference? Most accountancy firms look the same. And one of the big challenges for accountants is creating specializations within industries and developing new knowledge. But your clients need to know that you've developed these services. And I think diversification is very important for accountants, but it's also very important for your clients to know about, your SMEs. Accounting Market Pulse report, which is produced by the Commonwealth Bank, was released early in May, and it indicated that only 5% of the firms they surveyed all over Australia, and these were large, medium-sized and small firms, only 5% will not be diversifying their services in the next 5 years. That means 95% of the firms they surveyed will be diversifying. What are you doing in your firm? And the interesting thing was, when those firms were asked to nominate what the key new product area was going to be, it was emphatically business advisory services that received the top endorsement. So what difference do you need to make in the marketplace to be noticed? And Brad's going to talk more about that in a moment. But I think one of the key things is to create specialization within individual industries, not meaning every industry, maybe half a dozen over a period of a couple of years, so that you could be called an expert in that particular industry. And one of the other key things, I think, is to encourage your younger accountants or marketing people, if you have them in your organization, to become product champions. Your champion on debtors, your champion on the personal property securities register, your champion on charge out rates for tradies, and give them some profile and encourage them to undertake some of the services that Brad is going to talk to you about shortly. So the expert status, I think, it means that you've got a far greater depth of knowledge about a business than what normally accountants would have, and you understand how the business operates. And you need to make sure that your clients know more about the new services that you're now offering. And I think one of our problems as a profession is we assume that our clients will know. But this brings up the key point of what we're here today to discuss. Does your firm have a communication strategy? And I now like to welcome Brad. Brad's the author of Selling the Message, and there's the book. I'm just showed you there. And,
thanks for the plug, Peter.
Yeah, and so Brad, I'd open up, and obviously you're going to talk to us about a whole range of issues on communication.
Well, I think you're really right, Peter, with diversification. I think the problem is that we assume that our clients know the services that we're going to be offering, or we presume that they just have that they'll come to us for those services. But if you don't tell people about those services, how on earth are they going to know? You can do it in many ways, of course. The best, of course, is word of mouth. But you can only do so much word of mouth because they would be your major clients that you'd be telling of those services. And really, some of the services you would be offering as a diversification. It might be helping people with their debtors collections, or it may be providing virtual CFO services. The problem is that those larger firms that you can get in touch with face to face will probably have those services already, or at least part of the way to it. So you then need to start looking at other communication means. Now, I do recall after our last little episode, Peter, that someone said, "What on earth would Brad Smart know about accounting?" And the guy is absolutely right. I don't know much about accounting at all. All I need to know is about communicating, and I can help you communicate. Some of the ways that accountants can start getting the message out to not only their existing clients but also to potential clients is to initially a website. And any business that doesn't have a website these days is doing themselves a great disservice. And the website can carry the message of these diversified services. If you don't have a website and you want some help with that, I don't do websites specifically in my company, but I have people who can, and I can refer you through to them. There's taking a social media presence. Now, that's really important today. Conservative industries like accountancy tend to look on social media as being something that kids do. But if you use LinkedIn properly, you can establish yourself with blogs, which can turn you into an industry expert. And that's what one of your graphics before said, Peter. You have to establish yourself as an expert. And the way to establish yourself as an expert is to take some time, write down your thoughts, and start drafting up an article. Most of the articles that you'll find on LinkedIn are around 500 words. They're not a massive undertaking, but you do want them to be easy to read. So if you're going to do the job yourself, then you could hand it over to a partner to read, just to make sure it's got readability. Because when we write stuff ourselves, we understand what we wrote, but it doesn't necessarily convey the message. But if you need help writing blogs, they could give me a call. I do a lot of that work. As you know, I write opinion pieces for a number of industries, and I'm happy to help somebody get started, or even do the job on a long-term basis if that's what they require. But you can also take positions on Facebook with almost questions and answers, so that you're getting to an audience that you possibly haven't been dealing with before. They're your potential clients. They're your next generation clients coming through with social media. If you run a newsletter or would like to run a newsletter, you can do that. That's a great way of getting information on your diversified services out, because people love things in writing. Now, you send it out electronically, of course, but they can print it out and they can read it at their leisure and they can go back and reference it. Whereas if you do it with, say, a video, and videos are great, but I'll get to those in a minute. But if you do it with the video, the message goes and then it's passed into history. With written text in a newsletter type offering, people have got it there on their desk. They mightn't use it today. They might bring it up tomorrow, have a look at it. Oh, yeah, it's an interesting thing. And that's a way of getting your message out there. You've got to get into the audience's mind, your target market's mind, what these new services are and that you're an expert at it. As I mentioned before, videos are a great way of communication. I mean, we all watch television, and still over 70% of people watch television news as their only source of news. Why? Because video backed up by audio is the most retention-based medium that we can use. So people have been, watching TV news for years, but they have to, and it's dropping off now with internet and things like that. But the idea of video reinforced by audio is still very good as a learning tool and an educational tool. If you don't want to go to the expensive videos, and I've done videos for nearly 40 years for companies like Telstra, IBM, Ericsson, Siemens, many large corporations, and I've done them for smaller groups as well, particularly now as video is more prevalent on the internet through YouTube and through Vimeo. But if you don't want to go to the expensive video, and it's not too bad these days in cost, you could do a podcast. Now, you can do podcasts very easily. You could record them on your phone, and you could edit them on a simple program on your computer and send the message out to your audience that way. A lot of people now are listening to podcasts while they walk, while they're traveling in their cars to and from work. And a simple podcast explaining to your target market the additional services that you offer, great idea. And of course, you can do what Peter's doing here, and that is constant webinars. So you invite your client base to a webinar, and you can explain to them on the webinar what the new services are that you're offering. It's the obvious extension, or the mass extension of getting people together in a room. Of course, people don't have much time these days, so they don't tend to want to get together in a room. So there's a whole range of communication techniques that you could be employing to get those messages of your diversification, the new services that you're offering, out to your clients.
Yes, there's an interesting list there, Brad. I had a couple of others here that I just wanted to raise with you. News releases to the traditional media in an accountant's area. Is that worth their effort?
Yeah, that's good, particularly in regional areas. Metropolitan areas, the newspapers, the print media in particular, tends to be fairly have a fairly high bar. So you can't just send out a press release and expect it to end up in the paper. In regional areas, they do. And these days, it's not necessarily a printed newspaper. It's an online service for the local areas. So they're looking for content all the time, and they're happy to do that.
In the metropolitan areas, is there still, the free newspapers in various suburbs? Is that an avenue?
There are. There's a guide called the Margaret G's Media Guide, which has all the reporters, all the chiefs of staff, and the chiefs of staff at those newspapers and television stations and radio stations are the ones who are working out which stories will get a run and which stories won't. But as far as those free newspapers go, they'll be looking for content because they don't cover the news of the day. They tend to cover the social news, the local stories, and that's why they're so powerful. Because we get a free paper here every week, I'm sure you do, and they need content, and they're not covering the talks in Paris or the Kim Jong-un test driving a new missile. They're covering stories of interest to the local community, and if you, as an accountant with a new specialty, want to put your media release into them, or give them a call along with the media release, you'll find you score pretty well in coverage.
Okay, and what was that that reference called?
Margaret G's media
Margaret
guide.
G's.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty expensive. It's around $1,200.
Oh, okay. Right.
But it's certainly a great reference. And if you are sending out on a mass basis, you can find out who you've got to send it to.
Okay. Now, the other one I had here, presenting Zoom seminars and warriors. I think you touched on that, so that's probably okay. What about public speaking? Should accountants be consciously looking at public speaking? In your book, Selling the Message, you talked about public speaking and the nerves that some people suffer from before they speak to more than two people.
Well, that's true. I think we all deep down have a little insecurity in us. But I've been teaching executives public speaking because some of them can certainly write the presentations that have the content in them. But the golden rule is that with public speaking, the way you say it is far more important than what you're saying. And so if you had to reduce that book of 250 odd pages to a couple of words, you'd say, sell the message with passion and enthusiasm.
Yeah, I think that's on your front page, actually.
Well, that's what it's all about. So many people are afraid to use passion and enthusiasm when they're speaking to an audience. And an audience, of course, can be one-on-one like we're talking. It can be a group of 10 people, or it can be an auditorium full of people. They just need to know how to make a connection with that audience and how to give the audience what they need. It's not a bad book, but it's public speaking, I think, is probably a good thing for every executive to start training themselves up on.
Yep. And what about preparation of white papers? Because that's really what we're promoting here. I wrote a white paper on diversification because I had a few people ringing me and saying, well, asking me various questions about what their diversification strategy should look like. And I thought, instead of having different answers for everyone that rang me, I'd put it all together in an article. Should accountants be doing the same thing on their specialist products that we're talking about a little bit earlier, that I'm suggesting they should be try and become experts in?
Absolutely. I mean, the preparation of white papers is that basically sets out your position, and I think it would be well worthwhile for various accountants who are certainly starting to diversify to plan that move and outline what their outcomes are going to be before they even start. But writing those white papers as an expert, you really need to make sure that they're not above the audience that you're trying to talk to.
Right.
I think that's a critical part. If you start using lingo and acronyms, you'll lose that audience pretty quickly. So you need to probably run it by somebody who's in your audience once you've developed those sorts of papers.
Right. Okay, so
Now, if people do want things like white papers written, do want press releases, if they want to give me a call, I'm only too happy to talk about them, give them some guidelines. And if they want me to do it, well, I'm happy to do that too.
okay. And what's your contact details then, please, Brad?
Well, the best contact for me is the mobile phone, which is 0418 311 011. And the email address is bsmart, BSMART, at smartradiogroup.com.au. Now, I got that Smart Radio Group email when I diversified, because I was in film production in Melbourne, as I said, working for those large companies. And it had wildly volatile cash flow. And I said to my wife, well, we need to buy something like a hardware store to get rid of this volatility. And she said, you know nothing about hardware. So she said, why don't you go and buy radio stations? So we started buying up radio stations throughout Queensland. And that's where the Smart Radio Groups come from. That was our diversification, and it was a great investment.
Well, now that you brought up radio, and I didn't list this in our pre-discussion, but is that an area that accountants could be looking at, especially in regional areas around Australia,
in regional
to promote
areas,
their diversification?
Yeah, in regional areas, definitely. The radio stations, there's a program out that the federal government launched called PING, which is Public Interest News Gathering. And that's to give a grant to radio stations as well as newspapers that are working in local areas and providing local news. Now, news about an accountant going into, say, the virtual CFO area as their new specialty, or going into, as we said earlier, collecting, how to collect debtors and putting a debtors collection operation together. That's something that benefits the local community. And that's something that they can actually get out there, and the news organizations would be very interested in, I would think.
Yes, and there's also the community radio stations around now as well, isn't there? And I was listening to one of them the other day because one of my mates was being interviewed, and there's possibly opportunities there also, is there, for accountants?
Community radio stations are probably more local than most of the commercial radio stations these days. Commercial radio stations have tended to go to networking.
Yeah.
And a lot of their local news tends to come out of a central hub. Southern Cross, for example, which is right up through your area into Cairns and Townsville and Mackay. They do all their news out of the Gold Coast. So if an accountant wants to get into those markets through radio, they have to send it back to the Gold Coast, to the editors at the Gold Coast. Whereas if they're using community radio, that's happening locally.
Yeah.
And they'll probably find it's, if they were to talk to the community stations about advertising would be a heck of a lot cheaper on community stations than it would be on a Southern Cross station or a Grant Broadcasting station, one of the biggies. So if you went to those stations, you could basically get an interview. Even though you'd be paying for it, it might cost $50 or $100, and you could get 10 minutes of interview time.
Yep.
And some of these community stations have pretty big audiences.
Yeah.
Here on the Sunshine Coast, Sunshine FM, the community station that deals with or that targets people over 50, has more listeners than any of the commercial stations.
Yes, does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there's more of us over 50 than teenagers.
Okay, well, that's hopefully you accountants listening to this, either direct on Facebook or watching this at a later time that's just more convenient. Hopefully Brad's given you some great ideas here, because it's very important that you get out and communicate to your marketplace that you are offering these different services. Brad, I'll just take it back for a moment if I can.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll just relink.
I was just going to say, Peter, that if anybody wants to call me, I'm only too happy to offer advice free of charge.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's one of those situations where people do struggle. I've struggled in various areas in my time, and I've been helped out. And I'm only too willing to help out somebody who's trying to set up something new. Obviously, if they want me to start doing serious work for them, we'd have to talk about a commercial arrangement. But just for normal inquiries, I'm only too happy to help.
Thank you very much for that. Now, I'll just go back. We're coming back to you. Well, you're not getting away that easy. Because what I wanted to bring up now was some direct tools that we've included within ESS BIZTOOLS, Brad, and I know you're aware of these. We have Business Plus. Now, this is a monthly newsletter that we prepare so accountants can badge and send to their clients. And there's normally 6, sometimes 7 articles in there that are targeted at different SMEs at their stages of business careers, you know, a startup, people who are really wanting to expand and grow their businesses significantly, and others who are probably the middle of the road, been in business for a few years. And the articles are targeted that they're all about offering diversified services. We're not talking about taxation issues, but we're talking about grants, about debtors management, about how to undertake a business plan and these types of things. So this saves the accounting firm developing their own newsletter, if you like, Brad.
That's a great idea.
Okay. The other activity we have is what we call the SME Needs Analysis. This is a document which helps create a conversation with a client because it lists a range of matters and then suggests that the client should give their input. You know, and the discussion on debtors, it's got, do you check out the referees, for argument's sake, or referees when you're interviewing someone to open an account with them? Are you getting them to sign the terms of trade agreement? Are you conscious of the significant commercial benefits that can accrue to you if you've registered the customer on the Personal Property Securities Register? And what an accountant will find as they go through that, in many cases, the client knows nothing about these things and will say, well, what's the Personal Property Securities Register? The accountant should then be able to give them the answer. This is communications also, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as all my businesses have been SMEs, so I can understand the value of those services to accountants and to SMEs directly. But the that white branding, white label branding is a great idea because accountants will be able to get that information out and cut down the time drastically on having to research the material that's in it.
Okay.
And time is of the essence when you're starting up a new business. I think we all know about that.
Yes. So, Brad, to summarize, you can give advice on creation of newsletters, videos, podcasts, news releases, and basically everything we've talked about today, I assume.
Pretty much everything, yeah. And if I can't do it within my company, I have people who can, and I'm happy to refer people across to them. That would include, you know, websites and things like that, because it requires specialists to design those and any logos and things that they may need. They'd be a separate company that would do that. But videos, I can do for sure. As you're well aware.
I know that, yeah, you've done some with us and they were very good. Yeah. I was very much the pupil when it come to that area. Okay, so I'll just take the screen back and we will just move on. The other areas that I had down, and we've talked about public speaking, I would really like to endorse what Brad said before. Years ago, one of my colleagues was very nervous when it came to talking in front of more than 2 or 3 people. And I encouraged him to join Toastmasters, which he did. And he became a very, very good public speaker. In fact, he became a district governor in a major international organization and was noted for his ability to speak. Whereas 20 years ago, he was a very nervous presenter. So it does help. And he would not have got that role in the organization that he was a member of, that he put a lot of effort into, if he couldn't speak in public. And I think the same thing, Brad, goes for accountants or bookkeepers or business advisors or people offering chief financial officer services, doesn't it?
Well, that's true, Peter. Toastmasters is a great organization, but many of these executives who start off nervously, and accountants would be obviously amongst them, they develop to very quickly to the point where they start to really enjoy being up there. And in the end, you can't shut them up.
Well, that's what happened to my partner. Someone had a go at me once that I was the one that had encouraged him to get involved more in public speaking. And their comment was exactly the same. Now we can't shut him up. We can't get a word in.
Well, that's it.
Might always be the right thing.
I've trained a lot of politicians. I've trained a lot of business executives and senior business executives. I see it more as mentoring than training, and a lot of public servants. And a lot of public servants have difficulty initially, but once they get out there and they know the techniques that they can employ, they really start to become great public speakers.
Yeah, that's great. So what we're looking, I'll just take the screen back. So what we're looking at in all this is communication training and skills development and mentoring. So this is what you can be offering to these accountants, isn't it?
Sure. And while I'd like to do face-to-face with public speaking, that's not practical these days, especially in New South Wales and Victoria. So I'm quite happy to train over Zoom. And I've done that with a number of TV journos that, well, probably 15 or 20 of them that I've never met. So training is possible over Zoom, and the results are also quite good. Okay, so we'll just go back if we can, and we'll just go through a couple more of these slides, Brad, and I get this thing to work. It's not just doesn't want to go. It's had enough. Well, I've got to say, I love mentoring and training and public speaking because I don't have to do the work. Yeah. I found the connection now, so we can go back, and I'll be back to you in a moment if that's all right. Okay, so this is all about enhancing your firm's expert status, I think. This is not about writing articles and putting them in the bottom drawer or only having them within your firm. You need to tell the marketplace, and people like Brad Smart are able to assist you on that journey. And it is a journey because you need to be promoting your diversification characteristics. It's important, if you look at the future, that accountancy firms don't all look the same, which is where we started at the beginning of today's conversation. My suggestion also is you really encourage some of your younger accountants or marketing people or computer people, if you have them in your firms, to become champions of various components of the services you're offering, and that you encourage them to be able to communicate, not just to be the technocrat that knows how the predictive accounting process works, budgets, cash flows, projected balance sheets, but is able to run a video, to talk to clients, to address a seminar with 150 people in the audience. And this is what Brad was talking about before, as to having the confidence to be able to do that. The other big area is encouraging partners, managers, and champions within your firm to be prepared to
write articles. Some might be critical of a particular decision that's been made, or to expand, to get involved with industry groups. Because in my experience, you don't have to do too much before you become an expert in the eyes of organizations and of clients. Why? Frankly, they're not used to accountants being forthright in expressing opinions on some of the day-to-day business matters. What would you think about that, Brad?
Well, I think, Peter, you're right on that with news items or opinion pieces. You just don't know where your clients are going to come from when you publish on something like LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a business-related network, as you know, and if you put up an opinion there that happens to resonate with somebody, you just don't know whether that person will pick up the phone and could become your next major client.
That's right. That's right. And in fact, over the years, I've gained clients, not directly, sometimes indirectly, referred by someone else out of either having written an article or have spoken. I went to a real estate industry conference at one occasion because I was preparing a business plan for a real estate agent. And I got asked by some of the others what I was there. I was an accountant in the middle of a real estate agents conference. And I got 4 other business planning projects over the next 12 months on real estate. And it was all out of, because I did write an article about my experience of going for 5 hours to a real estate industry conference where they forgot I was there. So they talked, they thought, not that I quoted them directly what they were talking about, but it was a very interesting day.
I think one of the things, Peter, is that people are self-conscious about putting pen to paper for opinion pieces because they think, oh, why will they, what will they think about my opinion? Or everybody knows that. And really, everybody doesn't. They are more than interested in reading most articles that go up there that are in their interest area. Because it doesn't matter if you think that this is old ground you're going over. People are quite happy to listen to the views of others, and if they start to respect the views of others, they will turn to them.
Okay, so we'll just keep on going. So this is all part of enhancing your firm's expert status. Gaining a reputation as being a good media performer and preparing posts and videos, as Brad's referred to, on some of the diversification services that you're offering within your firm. I think one of the problems that accountants have got from the phone calls I get from people is just because you start offering business advisory services, whether it's debtors management, charge out rate determination, understanding the personal property securities register, or setting up monthly financial accounts, key performance indicators, a monthly meeting with the client, doesn't mean that everyone knows about it. There is this requirement to promote. You will not have instant recognition. This is where we need to communicate. The market knows that accountants do annual accounts and tax returns and audits, because we've been doing it for hundreds of years. But some of these new services need promoting.
I think there's also a problem, Peter, that because you've been doing compliance work, tax accounting for ages and ages, people pigeonhole you. And so when you start a diversified operation, they tend to say, oh, I don't know whether it's got the expertise in that area. And so you really have to promote that expertise through communications. Now, as we said, whether it's face-to-face, which is limited, of course, you can't see too many people, whether it's through all these other social media or website or newsletters or podcasts or even videos. You've got to get that message out there to establish your expertise in this diversification.
That's right. Your credibility and people are looking for you.
Yep.
Okay, so I just want to share the screen one more time. All team members need to be able to talk the talk. I think that should be a strategy within firms. Perhaps everyone should be trained in public speaking so that they can talk about the diversified services. So when they got the opportunity to talk to someone, they can identify clearly the types of services that your firm is offering. Now, if you want to know more about how you can deliver diversified services, ESS BIZTOOLS has developed a business advisory services starter package. It's a great place for you to start. It includes a range of products, and we have a special promotion that's exclusive for people who are attending this webinar, either live or watch it in the next couple of weeks. You can subscribe for our starter package for a 57% discount. So it's only $900 for 12 months. And you're going to get a range of material which will help you deal with your clients. The tradies charge out rate calculator, retail pricing calculator. Accountants love these packages, especially the tradies charge out rate. One client that we have has given us a testimonial that he uses it with 110 tradie clients, and he has increased the value of services that he's receiving from them by $5,000 to $7,000 each. Well, that's a lot of money when you multiply it by 110 tradie businesses. Professional services charge out rates, business health checks, which is going further than benchmarking, debtors systems review, over 340 separate papers that you can badge and send to your clients, and the survival in difficult times 38 questionnaire. So you can get all the information on that by going to our website, www.essbiztools.com.au. Just scroll down to learn more about other ESS BIZTOOLS products, and you can view all of the material relative to the starter package. And if you'd like to subscribe to ESS BIZTOOLS to take advantage of that special $900 offer, which has been made in conjunction with Brad Smart's participation here today, just go to our website and then click on to subscribe to Business Advisory Services Starter Package. And please insert the code BASSPBS, and that will get you the discount of $900. So BASSPBS. If you haven't got a pen or you can't write it down or you're doing something else, you can give us a ring and we'll give you that code. Okay. Now, our affiliates are offering a special promotion to assist us, and Brad's one of those key affiliates. So, Brad, do you just want to give an overview of the offer that you're making to our subscribers?
Well, I'm more than happy to give free advice, as I said, Peter, if people have got any inquiries. And for the first 10 companies that want to commission me to do some work, such as writing those opinion pieces or white papers or whatever they'd like to do, I'm happy to do the first 10 for free. Not 10 per company, just for 10 companies, the first job for free.
That's very kind of you, Brad. So thank you. Okay, I just want to talk about a couple of the other, I'll just take the screen back. Blackstone Business Group is also one of our affiliates. They're a human resources consultancy. They're offering a complimentary contract review for you or one of your clients, and they have a reduced employment contract package. Smith Inc., who many of you know, are offering discounted subscription fees for the Young Gun Conference, which has now been reset for February next year. And Cloud9 Associates in Brisbane is offering a discount on CPD hours at a discount. That's the package they're running if you complete a review and place it on the website. and Beyond Accounting Technologies, which is Paul Barnaby. And we have a similar presentation as this with Paul Barnaby tomorrow at 12 noon AEST. He's offering a predictive accounting review, which normally costs $695 at no charge for the first 20 firms. And Amanda Gascoigne Consulting. Amanda's an expert in small and solo practice firms. She's offering a coaching session at no charge for the first 10 firms. So all you do is when you subscribe to us, we send you a list. You just tick which one you would like to receive, and we will arrange for that service to be delivered to you. So it's a great offer. And Brad, thank you very much for your offer on this package. Thank you.
My pleasure, Peter. It's been great to be here.
Now, if you want to contact me, please send me an email, peter@essbiztools.com.au, or telephone me on 1-800-232-088, or you can visit our website, and please do so, www.essbiztools.com.au, and we will be very happy to talk to you. So, Brad, thank you very much for joining us today in this presentation.
Thank you, Peter. It's been great.
Yeah, so just to finish off with everyone, if you've got any questions, please contact Brad or myself. And if you can't remember Brad's details, just contact me and I'll pass your communication on to Brad and he will get back to you. So wherever you are around Australia watching this presentation, thank you for being with us. Stay safe, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks, Brad. I'll talk to you later on.
Thanks, Peter.
Thank you. Bye.